A lot of things are happening right now in the South China Sea and no one's paying attention. The US is ramping up its military presence, and the same with the Chinese. Even countries like Australia, the UK, Vietnam, they're all vying for control in the same waters. So what's going on? Let's take a look in today's video. So from the name you might think that the South China Sea belongs to China, but those are actually contested waters. No one really has a direct claim to the waters, but China of course would say that all of it is theirs. Back around the 1920s, China drew a line in the water called the 9-dash line, which you can see here on the map. So for a long time China convinced the world that these were Chinese waters, but on the 12th of July 2016, a committee tribunal ruled that China has no legal basis to claim historical rights within its 9-dash line. The tribunal judged that there was no evidence that China had historically exercised exclusive control over the waters or resources within the 9-dash line. The ruling was later, of course, rejected by the Chinese government. So the reason that the South China Sea is hugely important to all of these nations involved is that a lot of the world's trade goes right through the South China Sea. It has massive amounts of natural resources also. The recent escalation in military activity is also due to China's expansion far outside of its natural borders. You see, China has been building artificial islands very close to sovereign nations. They then use these islands to build military bases and outposts. And the general problem here is how China is expanding its influence, not just militarily, but with economics and with technology also. Where China can build up these artificial islands, they have been known to expanding their influence through buying up the debts of smaller island nations. And so when these smaller nations get too heavily in debt and they can't pay back the loans, China will use its influence to gain ground there too. But right now, by far, the biggest issue is how these two world superpowers are upscaling their military presence in the region alongside a bunch of different smaller nations. So why is this happening? Well, before we get into that, if you like this video, remember to subscribe to my channel so you won't miss out on future videos. Well, as I'm sure you know, the US have been involved in the area for quite some time, working with their allies like Japan and South Korea. The US are also being aided actually by the allies in the UK too. Australia and Vietnam, they have their own interests. And although Australia considers themselves allied with the US, Vietnam acts more independently. I do want to be fair though and say that if you are China, you do have reasons to be worried. If you're China, you don't think that the US have any reasons to be in the region. They don't have any allies nearby. They have Japan, South Korea to the north, and they have Australia way down to the south. So in a way, if I have to stretch myself, I can understand China being super defensive, because I don't think that the US would agree to the Chinese army having a fleet right outside Hawaii. Look, the problem here is that there are no clear objective nation borders. China is doing everything that they can to gain influence, like they are in the rest of the world, in every possible way. But all of the other nations surrounding them kind of also have their own motives. So you're really left with this feeling all of the time that the constant tensions between the big countries, like it just takes one slip up, one mess up of one general or someone in command, and we're gonna see an escalation happening really fast. And it doesn't take a genius to understand that the last thing that anyone would want to witness is a full-blown war between US and China. So, what do you think? Are the US basically right to keep a very close eye on China, or are they invading waters where they don't belong? Leave your comment in the comment section below and I'll make sure to reply to you. Thank you very much for watching my video.